One of the tools we have said that is helpful in analyzing our data is something called that 5-number summary, looking at minimum, first quartile, median, third quartile, and maximum. However, a lot of us tend to be more visually oriented, so we have come up with a way to visually present that 5-number summary. We call that a box plot. It is also called a box and whisker plot. All we're doing is taking this 5-number summary and we're starting it at the minimum, in this case a 59, and then we're extending it to the maximum, a 72. So each of those are just straight vertical lines. Then in the median, 66, we're also going to make a vertical line. But then we're going to note the first and third quartiles, 62 and 69, and we're going to create a box that includes that middle 50% of data. So looking at this box plot, we notice how low it goes, how high it goes, and then we see a box that's representing where the bulk, or at least 50% of our data is. So that kind of helps me see where it's centered. It also shows me where the median is in relation to that 50% of the data. On this one, it's just slightly above where it looks like halfway between the actual minimum and maximum. Let's take a look at how that might help us in analyzing data. Here we have two different stores, and it's the service times for two fast food restaurants. Okay, so store 1, our box plot has a minimum of 0.7, a maximum of 6.3 rather. Now our box is between 1.8 and 2.9 with 2.3 in the middle as the median. Store 2 has a minimum of 0.5, maximum up here of 9.6. The box is between 1.1 and 5.7. The median there is 2.1. So pause a second and see if you can think about what those numbers are telling you as far as which one would be the best to go to if you were in a hurry. Okay, so what do we think? If I'm looking at store 1 and this box plot, I recognize that 0.7 is the minimum time that somebody waits. That is a little bit more than store 2, so that's a little bit of a ding. But then I keep looking down here and see quartile 1, 1.8, median 2.3, and quartile 3 is 2.9. Remember, the third quartile means that 75% of the data falls below that 2.9. Yes, it does have a maximum of 6.3. Now let's look at store 2. So we know it has a lower minimum, but just slightly. And we also know the first quartile is 1.1. So 25% of the people do get their service faster in store 2 than store 1. The median is 2.1. So again, that is a little bit lower than store 1. So 50% of the people do get a little bit faster service in store 2 than store 1. However, the third quartile is way up here at 5.7. So what this is telling me is, yes, 50% of the people get served in 2.1 minutes or less, but 50% of the people also get served in 2.1 to 9.6 minutes, and in fact, more specifically, 25% are in this upper part of the box, 2.1 to 5.7 minutes. So if it were me, I would opt for store 1 because the bulk of the people, 75%, are going to be served within 2.9 minutes, as opposed to being served within 5.7 minutes for store 2. Let me know if you have any questions.